But from there, yeah, so Dana Delaney then, her big thing was, and we asked people before, previous guests had never heard of this show. Maybe you guys are more familiar with, but her big thing was something called China Beach.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. So you both, because I'd never heard of the show before, but if you look up Dana Delaney, that's the thing they mentioned. It was like, she is the lady from China Beach, and I was like, what the hell is China Beach?
I've heard of it, but I've never seen it or seen it on over here. It could have been on, but you know.
Well. But you both you guys big fans or anything? Or?
Oh no, I've never watched it.
No,
but I've heard of it.
You've got standards. You know.
I think my folks watched China Beach. It was really pushed hard though. Like I still remember the commercials for it, and that was like probably when I was like, I don't know, 8 or 9 years old. But yeah, she was definitely, I mean, it's not like Friends because it was kind of like a MASH sort of. It was if I remember correctly, it was some kind of like MASH.
I think the pitch was it was
war-based.
Yeah, I think the pitch was it was MASH, but it was serious, and it was Vietnam.
Yeah,
and it was basically like, what if we took out all the fun out of MASH and just had it be?
Yeah, all the surrealism and the subtlety, and then we got China.
Yeah.
But yeah, it really made her.
Yeah. Apparently, too, she only got it from she had auditioned for it with her her normal long hair, and they were like, no, sorry, no. And then she went off. She was in a Patty Hearst movie made by Paul Schrader, who of course made Taxi Driver and stuff.
Yeah,
or wrote Taxi Driver at least. And he advised. He was just like, "Oh, can you cut your hair for this part?" And she got this bowl kind of like bob haircut. And then she the China Beach people were like, "Oh, maybe we should get her back." And when she came in with that haircut, they're like, "Perfect, yeah, you're cast." So Paul Schrader advising her to get a haircut for an unrelated project apparently landed her in China Beach. I know on China Beach as well, it was a real weird, there's a random interconnected thing of, it also has some guy called Jeff Kober in it. And I was watching a movie I'd never seen before, and I was stunned we didn't bring it up during Batman Returns. Because he's in a movie called Out of Bounds, starring Anthony Michael Hall, of course, in, The Dark Knight. And it has a performance by Susie and the Banshees in it.
Yes.
There's a whole plot line of Anthony Michael Hall is like this. Has to drive a car to L.A. for a delivery or whatever, and then he ends up embroiled in this whole criminal plot. And the main bad guy is the guy from China Beach, apparently. But yeah, there's a great 80s new wave goth soundtrack to it. It's very very cool.
Right, I'm super into this already. Yeah.
yeah. And I mentioned it to our friend, the guy who does our theme tune, Ash, who's massively into all this stuff, and he had never heard of Out of Bounds. And I was like, holy moly, how did this thing slip us by? There's a photo of dorky looking, just fresh off the Breakfast Club, Anthony Michael Hall, sitting next to Susie Sue. And she speaks very highly of this movie. Like, I had a great time. They flew me out, and I just mimed Cities of Dust on the stage, and they paid me a lot of money. It was fantastic.
You can't argue with that. What a great weekend's work.
Yeah. Apparently, though, reading in the production of it as well, apparently it was during a very dark time of Anthony Michael Hall's life where he was just an absolute dickhead.
Oh.
He was desperately trying to break out of being the geek from the Breakfast Club and Weird Science and stuff. And so he tried to play the character as Clint Eastwood. And the director was like, no, that's not what we want. And then Michael Hall was like, well, that's what you're getting. And he would say things like, I don't really feel in terms of emotions. I feel in terms of color. So can you direct me that way? And so the director was like, I know you're feeling fucking lavender today. What the hell are you doing? What are you doing to me, kid?
I do get some people can experience the world that way, can't they? But you need someone else who does to then. But everyone's going to interpret it differently, even if someone has the same thing, where you hear colours and things like this.
Yeah. I think though, I'm sure it's very genuine with some people. I think Anthony Michael Hall at that period was just being a pretentious douchebag.
He's just doing it, yeah.
And he said in his memoirs, apparently that period, he's like, "Oh, I was an absolute horror. I was just so up my own ass and stuff." So.
I'm sure we've all had periods like that, though.
Yeah. So beyond that. Only other little